This stuff, Yerushalmi Pesachim. The article edition was starting mamish at the top of Pei Aleph. Hifrish Pisachov Avad, which in the Vilna is on Samar Vav on the base. Not as easy to find. 12 lines above the Mishnah. Hifrish Pisachov Avad. So of course this is a case of our Mishnah. Hifrish Pisachov Avad, you set aside one Korban Pesach and got lost. You set aside Korban Pesach B instead of it. If the you didn't get around to sacrificing B, until A was found. So now both of them are standing in front of you. So what do? Those Tanoim who said Mitzvah Akrib is Rishon. So this is to sacrifice the first one, which you designate as Korban Pesach. These Tani, those who said Mitzvah Akrib is Sheni. So to sacrifice the second one, which was designated Korban Pesach. Some say A, some say B. But Tani Shmuel Cain. So the word Cain is a little bit difficult here. Korban Ada says Cain means that tiny mitzvah lav sheni dafka kamar afa sheni muvchar. Not specifically is that he's going back and modifying the previous statement, whereas the Pei Moshe says that he's saying, well, since we have machlokas A or B, so therefore you get to choose. Right? So Ella shekain no. So this is what you should do. It's kind of a compromise. So choose the best one. You choose for the better one. She started saying what she graze until it gets a mum. And then be sold and bring with its value shlamim be yud vav. Obviously not on the yontif itself, but on the on Chol Hamoed. Rabbi Lezer says, "Who atzmai karev shlamim?" It itself is brought as a shlamim. Since Rabbi Lezer the Amora, not necessarily. It could be Rabbi Lezer as a Tana. It's a third opinion. We had two opinions before, and this is a third opinion. There was not third opinion. Second opinion. Sorry, because before the Mavleus was A or B, and then Shmuel said basically C, and we're arguing on C. So either it's not clear if it's Rabbi Lezer the Amor or Rabbi Lezer the Tana, but Rabbi Lezer who had smoke Rabbi Shlomo B Yud Vav Asid the Rebbe could be Lezer. So Rebbe is going like Rabbi Lezer. So which is strange way of putting it. If it is Rabbi Lezer the Amora, which should be Asya Rabbi Lezer Kerebi, but it could be that it is Rabbi Lezer the Tana. Okay. Anyway, Ushmuel Tani Tanise B'Shitase, and Shmuel learned a brisa which follows this opinion. Now, there are many different interpretations in actually, even in the line that I just said, and the article says like there's kind of a couple of separate sugyas here, but just going with the most smooth possible explanation here, and I think with the most glot, and he changes the gears a lot to make it the next following line actually a Mishnah Tamura as opposed to a brisa. Which is the parallel of the Mishnah Tamura. But in any event, so we're going to have to put a lot of words to make that work. But it could be it's the Mishnah Tamura. But the basic principle is the kosher b'chatos mesa b'pesach karev shlamim. And anything which by a chatos has to die, by Pesach, that animal itself brought as a shlamim. We discussed this yesterday. So the Gemara says, okay, this shoot Rabbi Lezer goes like Rebbe, and the following either Brisa or Mishnah. Tai Rebbe Omer, if you have a similar case by a chatos, right? Ein chatos mesa. It only says ein chatos here, but it should say ein chatos mesa. Actually, forget it. Tai Rebbe Omer, it should say Shnei Tamus. The second one dies. Okay, it's a scenario where you set aside a chatos and you lost it and found another one, and now you have both of them in front of you, and you're marking one of them, so the other one has to die. Sorry. Yeah, the second one has to die. Chachamim say no. Chachamim say the second one should graze. And they say, and the Yerushalmi Pesachim puts in the words here, a few words, and then for the article, but basically, the article puts in the same words. And I think that was based on the Korban Eder, yes. So Korban Eder, we can read in the Korban Eder. It says Shmuel Nisim Shitzayd Rabbanan the Tanya Mafish Chatos for Avad. He says and it got lost. Viva Shacheres Tachter. He set aside another one instead. V'lo speak Lakri, but Shim he was able to sacrifice it until he found the first one. Reishtain okay, almost are both here. Achas Menti Korev. So one of them because brothers Korev Shliya Tamus. Right. So here it brings down in the Korban Eder Divrei Rabbi Eliezer. So and that. But in the way the article has it, and the way we have in front of it, is Divrei Rebbe. So we'll stick with that, okay? I'm sorry. No, it's Shnei Thomas. That's Divrei Rebbe. Chachamim say, Ein chatas meis. Here I'm going back to the Gemara. Ein chatas meisa. Again, putting in the word meisa here. Elish nimdes achar shekibur bailim. No, it was around at the time that the is being makar the other one, so then it doesn't die. Also, the money which you set aside for Korban Chatos, and then you lost them, and then you had to bring other funds for Korban Chatos. They don't go to Yom HaMelech unless they're found after the Bailim was atoned for, and otherwise you could use the money otherwise to buy a different Korban subsequently. Because it's only when the chatos would die that the money also can't be used in another korban, and you have to just eliminate the money by bringing it, so to speak, to Yam HaMelech, whether that's it's a term for you can't have any honor from them, literally, but put them in the Dead Sea. Well, no, you can't get honor from anything. So in any event, that the Rabbi Lezer, who said by us that the Korban Chatos, I'm saying that the Pesach can be brought as a Shlomim. If it was both of them were around and you sacrifice one of them, the other one can be brought as a Shlomim. So that's like Rebbe, who said that if the scenario was that case in a Chatos, the Chatos would die. And Kosh Chatos Mesa, because Pesach Korban Shlomim. As Rabbanan, that's not the case. Just like there, Rabbanan say no. Since it was around at the time of the shchitas, shchita of the second chatos, first chatos grazes. Here too, since the other Korban Pesach was around at the time of sacrifice, the other Korban Pesach, so then it also Yerushalmi Pesachim has to go out and get a mum, and then if you sell it and use its money to buy a shlomim. Okay, halacha zayin. Hamafish nekeva pischo, which is not suitable to be a Pesach, it has to be a male. Or zocher ben shnei shanim, or if it's in its second year of life, which is also not suitable. Yirayat shistoi, if it goes to the grazes until it gets a mum, v'yimacher, and if it's sold, v'yiplu dava l'nedava, and its money is used to buy nedava, Korban Shlomi. Hamafish pischo meis, somebody who says Korban Pesach and died, le'v'yena b'no acharav, l'shem Pesach, the son cannot bring him afterwards for Korban Pesach, as the Korban says, da'avle Pesach shemesu bailav ain't kamenuyim. So therefore, it says brought for the purpose of shlomim. Everybody has to make some changes in the Gemara here, but we'll try and make it as simple as possible. Masisa Harapara. First of all, our mission is talking about after Kapara, because otherwise, in the ratio, why does it say that you have to people daven in the dava? Sell the Nekev or the Zakar Ben Shnei Shanim, yes, and use the money for a Pesach. Okay, graze it, get a mum, so use the money for a Pesach. So it must be that it's after Kapara, so that's why it's brought as Shlomim. Okay, our Mishnah is, it says here, Rabbi Shimon, all the Mepharshim change it to Lok Rabbi Shimon. The Melech Shlomo has a gersa from the Yerushalmi Pesachim, the Lok Rabbi Shimon. And if you look into Tosefta there at the end of Perek Tes and Pesachim, there's Rebbe and Rabbi Shimon and Rabbi Lezer all appear there. And actually, having looked at Tosefta, going back to what I said a few earlier in this shir, so that lashon which we had before, Rabbi Lezer who asked Makarv Shlomim, is actually in the Brises here. I'm not going to, the Brises themselves, a whole bunch of issues. I'm not going to get to read the Brisa inside, and it's not specifically the same case, not the same case we had before, but that lashon is there. So therefore, I think now that Rabbi Lezer is, let's say Rabbi Lezer who atzmo, was lashon back then. Rabbi Lezer who atzmo Makarv Shlomim. It is Rabbi Lezer the Tana, and Rabbi Lezer the Tana is going like Rebbe, which is and then therefore it is Asa the Rebbe Rabbi Elazar, meaning that Rebbe and Rabbi Elazar say the same thing. So, which is now because which makes sense because there's Rabbi Elazar in the Brisa. Okay, so now even, but this is Lok Rebbe Shimon. The Tani we learned. Kodim Pesach, if it got a moon before the Pesach, Tei Roa Achet Tistoiv, it grazed until it gets a moon. V'timocher and to be sold. V'yavi b'dam Mea Pesach. And you bring with the with the money you have, you bring the Pesach itself, which is of course our Mishnah. Although our Mishnah is talking about Lacha Kapara, this Livnei Kapara. Lacha Pesach, after Pesach. Now here it says Tavo, and so it can't mean literally. The Yerushalmi Pesachim suggests actually change the gears to Yavi Shlamim. Because this opinion is requires riyah. So therefore, even if you don't change the gears, so tava shlomim doesn't mean it itself becomes shlomim. But rather it means that you bring a shlomim with the money you get from grazing it. And the article also does not change the girsa, but learns it that way without changing the girsa. Rabbi Shimon Kohen Pesach. Now here's the Rabbi Shimon sheet that we said. Look, Rabbi Shimon. Shimon says Kohen Pesach. If this happened before, but it was before Pesach, timacher shelo b'mum. If we saw it was Adamum, we had Rabbi Shimon shita. Yes, was it yesterday or the day before? The Rabbi Shimon said that there's no kedusha in this case. Yeah, there was, yesterday the Rabbi Shimon Omer and they came Ola lo kol kichal hekdesh damim. So he says, after Pesach, you bring a shlomim. It itself can be brought as a shlomim. So our Mishnah clearly, which says here, she's not going like Rabbi Shimon, and again, it's not going like Rabbi. Also there in the Tosefta who holds like Rabbi Shimon as well. Okay, so now we're going on the next part of the Mishnah. So Gemara has a problem because yesterday we learned that kosher nearly kar Pesach ain't gufa kar shlomim. Anytime it's near Pesach, we said it was near Pesach, right, 14th in the morning, only 14th in the afternoon. But anytime it's near to be a Pesach, you can't bring it as a shlomim. It has to be grazed. So our Mishnah says that mace, and presumably. The Gemara is assuming that he died on Yudalad, again, either in the morning or afternoon, depending on the previous Gemara. He can bring it for the purpose of Shlomim. What do you mean? Locating Sabina Meima Koshin, you want to carve Pesach, ain't good for carve Shlomim? So according to that opinion, yeah, that's one, you're right. Echnami, Pasuk Shifish Mos. We talk about when he set aside money, now he set aside actually going Pesach, because he set aside going Pesach, and then the Bailam down Yudalad, so then you cannot bring it as itself as a Shlomim. But he set aside money, and they therefore, when the Bailam died, the son can bring it. That from that money, they can bring a shlomim. Okay, so as a Mishnah Loches, Pesach is Arva Bezvachim. Pesach got mixed up in other karbanos. Kulam Yirot Shisarva, they ought to be grazed until they get a mum. If you machru and they should be sold, V'yabi Mei Yovash Man means that. Mei Yovash means that, and you bring from the money, which you realize from the sale, from the value, the equivalent of the best of the animal for whatever karbanos got mixed together, right? For the Pesach, for the other karbanos got mixed up because who knows? Maybe the best animal was the one which was of that type. So it's going to cost you extra money. So if you have seen a moitzah and beso, rest of it you lose. You have to shell out more money as a result of this. This mix-up. Nisar b'cheres. What are the Pesach got mixed up in b'cheres? So b'cheres can only be by kohanim. So shemer im chaburas kohanim. If it's a chabur of kohanim, yochlu they can be eaten. In other words, you can bring the bechor as a korban pesach. So let's see the korban 8 about this. Yochlu kulam bo balayla. They'll be eaten the night of Pesach. Shebchor nechal akwanim. Bechor being by kohanim. V'yol yikra pesach shem pesach b'chol makom shehu. The Pesach you bought as Pesach, whichever one, right, is the Pesach. Bechor is the shem bechoros, and bechor is the purpose of bechor. So, Chomakom Shein, whichever ones they are. Babi Shein Memati is Manachias Bechor, even though it's diminishing the time of Achias Bechor. Shabchor Nechal Shnei Yom, V'layla Achas, the Bechor can eat for 2 days and 1 night. V'achshav Enochlim Chatzos, because man at Pesach, no, you can eat it till Chatzos after Pesach. This will be the base of Psul, so there's going to be no sar. Shemisova Shecholim Levi Kachin base of Psul. You're allowed to bring Kachin base of Psul. We're going to plea early. We're going to argue. And they argue that they hold, although they're not explicit in the Mishnah, that I'm a year kulam achistavu v'yori most of the yofa sheben kaman pesher sar besvachim. They hold aim being kosher base psul, so therefore, since you're ma'itz manachila, you should best graze them and then bring the as we follow the procedure which outlined in the first part of the Mishnah. Okay, says the Gemara. Similar to the last part of the Mishnah, we're talking about stuff which has restrictions on it and got mixed up. So, Enlkin she's kesef meiser. Pretty obviously meiser sheni. So you can't buy pair of shmita with meiser sheni money. Why? So it says kormeid chashin shemalei chaos them izmanim. They're not going to eat at the proper time. And you're going to have to be mevar them, eradicate them. When there's no more of this type of produce left to animals in the field. So you're causing a loss for the Meiser Sheni money. Rabbi Yossi Merva Machlekas. He says it's Machlekas. And the Korban says it's Machlekas. The time Meiser Sheni per Gimel. And Lechim Truma Bekesem Meiser Sheni. You can't buy Truma with Meiser Sheni money. They should buy Bechelas because of diminishing the amount of people who eat it. Only Kohanim. Rabbi Shimon Matir. Shouldn't permits it. Ki Echa the Pliga B'Truma. It's just a Truma. Hachinai Pliga B'Shvius. So they argue by Shemitah. B'hach, price the tiny ain't looking. This one which curtail says you can't buy Shvius with Meiser Sheni money. It's Krabana. That's going on Krabana. Rabbi Yehuda said no. The Rakoli. Over us, it's over there. I'm sorry. By ain't looking Shvius because in Meiser, it's everybody agree. Why? Because Ochle Truma's reason him. They also include Truma difference. As Kohanim explains, ain't a Kohanim. Shane's reason, the Ochle Truma Kohanim who are meticulous. They'll make sure not to pass. Who the Matar B'Shem? As Shem says, for that you can use Meiser Sheni money to buy Truma. Al Shvius, by Shemitah, which is Mosor Lakol, it's not like Kol Nakim or Kohanim who are adept at eating things quickly. That after Shimon Moed, they ain't looking. Even if Shimon can say don't quiet, then they should be they psul because you're going to eventually bring it to psul as a result. Okay, again, Rabbi Yehuda Divakol Ochle Truma's reasoning. Hey, so we Chanira by Komi Raimona. So now we come back to our Mishnah. Hey, so Chanira Raimona, as for Raimona, but they didn't learn these Arab B'Chayros. They got mixed up the Pesach in B'Chayros, which Kohanim are going to eat. Shemer in Kohanas, im Chaburas Kohanim Yochlu also Yochlu. If they're a Chabur of Kohanim, you eat them. The tiny law, we learned during this, Yochlu Chomer Shabbat. That being like the more Chomer among them, which obviously is like Korban Pesach, which only goes to Chatzos. So, question: what's the one asking? So, the Tal Torah says, or Me'arik says, the question is a very cute chap. He says that Truma, Kohanim always those reasoning, and more so therefore the more is than Shemitah. So it's a more severe kedusha. So therefore, okay, that's they're allowed to buy Truma from Shemitah money because they're used to being meticulous by Truma, more meticulous by Truma, which is higher kedusha than Shemitah. So therefore, there won't be a problem. They'll be meticulous by this Shemitah Truma, and certainly you'll be fine for the parameters of Shemitah. But by Bechoros, there's reason to eat it in 2 days and 1 night. That's their normal parameters of reasons, which is a lesser reasons than the reasons of Korban Pesach. So if that's the case, over here, why should this be permitted, right? To eat it with Teres Pesach, which is where the time is more chomer, and they'll come they know so, because the level of Zrizus for V'chayris is less than level of Zrizus than for Pesach. So again, I understand where you elevating to a higher level of Zrizus, because going more is always by Truma, and by Shemitah it's a higher level of Kedusha. So then, we like Kohanim Zrizim. But if it's a case where the Kohanim are less Zrizim, because the Bechorah is eaten for a longer period of time normally, so why would we allow them to bring us Kohanim Pesach, where if they're the flip side is a lesser Zrizus, not a higher Zrizus. So Gemara says, Amar le Ochli Pesachim Shaitan Zrizim Hein Kochli Truma. Ochli Pesachim, evidently every, not just Kohanim, but anybody, okay, so it's Pesach, they're Zoris. So they're going to be, it's really a higher level of Zrizus, right? That they're going to make sure on account of their normally they're only Zoris by Bechor to a lesser extent. By Pesach, everybody's super Zoris, and therefore won't be a problem. So, you show this is the case. That people are more super meticulous by Kohanim Pesach. Everybody says, because it says, Ain't Soim Basar Basar Beisa Kadesh Yatsu. You can't put on Erev Shabbos. You can't put meat, onion, and eggs into the oven unless they're going to be roasted before Shabbos begins. Yet by Pesach, you put the Kohanim Pesach into the oven right before nightfall, even though it's not going to be cooked before Shabbos begins. So therefore we see, let's be concerned that Shemi Echata. So it says no. Obviously we say that for Pesach everybody's super meticulous and they'll make sure to do things properly. Okay. Some of the Moshe says throws in all the Chaburos quite a name. So I'm not sure he has to throw it in. Sounds like that's in the just because it's Kohanim Pesach. It's sufficient. The Mishnah is very long, and if we did the whole Mishnah, we go do all of Pei Aleph and Aleph in the art scroll. So we'll just do part of the Mishnah for today. Chabur Avad Pischa, Chabur which lost its Pesach. Okay, it's got lost. So he said one of them, Tzebakesh, go and find the lost animal, and shechted for us. And he went and he found and he shechted. Okay, but in the meantime, they got nervous, I guess, and they bought another korban and they shechted. If his animal is shechted first, so he shechted for all of them. He eats from it, and they eat with him. If there's a shechter first, he eats from his, right? And they eat of theirs. Okay, this because he was not included evidently in their new Kohanim Pesach. But he has his own. You don't know which. Is this Alf actually? That's Alf. So it's the top of Alf. So we'll leave that here to